about you altogether, and I think I guess we want to. I guess my objective here would be to say that I want to cover just some of the like the social aspects and things, and get into more details on what it would mean for you to be here as a preparation to actually writing up a contract. So that's kind of where I stand.
Okay.
How about you, Aaron? Did that say that, or is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. Yep.
hmm There's a little bit of echo back there. Is there? Is who's doing echo? I can hear myself a little bit.
I'm going to turn down my volume a bit, but I don't have my headphones, so
Okay.
hopefully that'll mitigate it.
Yep. Yeah. So, Marshall, how do you feel? What did you want to get out of this meeting?
Well, yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, I was hoping to, hear where you guys are headed, and you pretty much just told me.
Yeah.
So from there, I want to get a better idea of timeline,
Mm-hmm.
and then what the time within that timeline, if it's up for discussion, me being able to do work that is not open, factory farm related, or if the contract is going to be like, I'm exclusively working during this time. I have a handful of options on my end regarding
Tell
things.
us more. Okay, tell us more about that. So you're saying that, first of all, I mean, you're on site here, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm definitely on site there.
So you'll be on site here, and you're saying so you'd like to do other work that's related to Arab, or what do you have?
Well, that's the question. If that's possible, there's a few different ways I can take it from here. Under the assumption that I'm not interested in cutting my ties with Arab specifically.
Yeah. Okay.
Most extreme example is I could take a leave of absence, and they would still allow me to maintain connection with the intranet, using all of the online resources, and I just have to have someone back me up. And I've already been talking to principals, and there's people that would be backing me up.
When you say access to the database and all of that, do you mean for the purposes of working on our stuff using those contacts, or?
That's what I'm referring to. Yes.
And so you're saying that that's so valuable that we definitely want to have access to that?
Well, it's not just let's see. That's what I'm getting at. I'm getting at there's so much value in this intranet of a company of 10,000 people that work on some of the most advanced projects in the built environment around the world, that not only the data stored, but also the individuals that are within a 30-minute turnaround. I can be talking to various specialists around the world in different areas. So
how do you see the database actually being relevant? I mean, it's specialized problems. I mean, what kind of data? I mean, as far as the solutions that they have databased, what kind of solutions would apply to us?
Off the top of my head, the well digger. There's maybe 100 geotechnical engineers within the network, and who deal with the specification and of digging wells, and I think their input could be very, very valuable. With that specific piece. Now, did I read it right that there's going to be a focus on specifically the CET Liberator?
Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if the way I'm looking at it is, and we're trying to get our head on out of our ass on how we do all of this. But I mean, it's a big transition point for us, and the latest thoughts simply have been, given that the compressed earth brick press is the farthest product, and our interest is viral scalability as we go along, the concept was, let's take that to full release including a robust business model where you demonstrate very high productive earnings. And once we master the entire extreme manufacturing process for one, that means the how do you develop, how do you document, how do you gather the flash mobs or whoever, the multitude of different resources that are required in the extreme manufacturing platform or the project development platform. We want to work it out completely and unambiguously, and that's probably done by putting our eggs somewhat in one basket, in the sense that we would want to focus all our people on making sure that one project is done, and then we can move on. And from that point, we're actually using the bootstrapping funding from that to start further projects. Now, we do have the option to, I mean, we've got a little money in the bank, so we can hire people to, or use our resources to either accelerate the one development of, like, let's say the CEB, or a number. Now, when we do say CEB, you have to also consider that's a very comprehensive package, because right there you've got the CNC circuit mill, CNC torch table, iron worker machine, multi-machine, and perhaps others that come into that package as if we were to develop a full open source business model for producing CEB presses. You know, those tools would be involved in there.
Those tools are all required in the creation of a CEB.
They're required, yes and no. We will, if we don't have them, that means someone else will be doing that work for us. Or if we don't have the CNC torch table, we do it manually or just don't use the torch table at all. But there's a case where the torch table could streamline the process by, say, you know, cutting off like 2 to 4 hours off the fabrication process, you know. So there's always optimizations, and when we talk about a fully developed product, that does mean a super high level of optimization that touches into the other products as well. But as far as what to do, I mean, this is where we have to negotiate very carefully and put our heads around the project. Right now, I would have you, like, if you're a project manager, then you should focus on the CEB press, the complete deployment of that as a means to bootstrap further efforts. I was just actually talking to my coach about this, and he also agreed, and he said basically there's a difference between just getting these products out there and showing this full economically viable business model that's also well robust and replicable. I mean, that takes us to the next level of adoption, and you know, we're basically at that threshold of widespread adoption by the rest of the world. I mean, the CB press itself, we could see, like, if we play our cards right, or if we focus on it, I mean, you're talking about, well, I mean, significant earnings. Like, if there were people to start up enterprises on a CB press, I mean, we could have a number of those worldwide within like 1 or 2 years. There could be like 10 to 100 of these started up, but it depends if you want to focus on that. It's like, is that a field to go? I think it would be. I think to show that huge impact, you know, the metric of impact, like we're saying, oh, there's X replications, X successful enterprise that have produced X machines worldwide as a result of this open source work. That's an amazing case for the open source technique, and nobody else on this planet. Nobody has yet to date deployed a distributed open source enterprise. There are open source enterprises, such as MakerBot or Adafruit, DIY drones, but none of them are distributive enterprises. So we're taking the open source to the next level, for which I think it's really important that we focus on one, as opposed to, oh, we're going to just kind of pepper at it, you know, make a few tractors that don't work and things like that. No, I think we should focus on one. So as we clarify your contract, I think that's the direction we should go. Aaron, what's your input on this at this point, Aaron? Is this consistent with what we've been discussing?
Yeah, it's absolutely consistent, and this is how we're going to bootstrap the nonprofit side of the funding too, which is not our main revenue source right now, but in the future it could grow based on proven results. So to really prove that would be a huge asset in kind of getting foundations on board, because they love to see that you can prove that you are actually generating the impact that you intend to. So I think that's 100% right.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I've been shifting. It's like, before it was, we just deployed the whole set by year end, and then we find out, okay, you need to recruit people and have talent on board. That takes a long time, so forth. So we're extending the deadlines. And I was thinking, oh, you just spawn a bunch of them at the same time. Well, that is still kind of true, except that we do it one success, one step building upon the next. So if we have the step of the CEB press and we feel that's actually going in a solid way towards the complete development, then we can say, okay, now let's do the same for the tractor and everything else. But kind of build on a solid core. Not like I think the weakness for us is the um, inability to really follow through right now on timelines in terms of getting the CAD and getting the documentation and everything, because we've been working with volunteers and we're trying to make that either work or get some kind of a different investment model or development model where we are able to guarantee the contributions, and we are hoping that the flash mobs would be one way to generate a regular stream of high quality contribution. I still do believe highly in it, because what we have seen already is that there are volunteers with amazing technical knowledge who come to the table and basically save the day. It's like the hero model that we're operating on. We happen to tap the best guy, the guy who actually built the leading CEV press. He basically told us how to design it. It's like that. So that is definitely possible, but we're not tapping that to the extent that we could be. That's why I think it's possible, and it's not been done by anyone, I think, really effectively yet. But anyway, so that's that. But tell me, going back to the fraction of time that you'd be interested in working. Let's nail this, because I mean this gets to the real practical issues of working out the details.
Sure. So my strongest interest would be to be full time on open source ecology work, and if I can do that and still maintain this network. I would like to do so. I would like to do it that way. And there are a few different methods of getting there, but that would be what I'm shooting for. Tell you about them?
Yep.
One would be I'm still entirely employed by Arup, and I go through an internal funding mechanism called Arup Cause, and I acquire funds to pay my salary to do open source ecology work. And what this might look like, something, this is through a charitable donation branch. So that's one way of doing it. The other way that I'm 100% on open source ecology would be actually taking a leave of absence, and I would say that would in the leave of absence case, I would not be able to maintain my health care and other benefits, and of course not my salary and whatnot. But in that case, I would be on 100% open source ecology, and I would be still connected from a tech standpoint. The other option is the third option, I guess, is actually maintaining a piece of work from Arup. And in that case, I could, if I could, I say a piece, 20 hours a week of Arup work, and then I could do that via teleconference, telecommute, and that would pull away from how much work, how much I'm doing on open source ecology. I would still be on site, but in that case, I would still have my benefits, but it wouldn't require the internal funding mechanism to go all the way through and be approved to the level that I would need. And the projects I'm on would go, wouldn't struggle as much in the transition of losing me. So I don't think
on the self-funded, employed by Arup, how much time does it take, and how likely would you be able to get it?
I have a template application in hand. I asked our local funding leader what the turnaround would be. I would be surprised if it would be turned around by July 1, but I should have a better idea about that within the next few days. And how likely is it? I've never had anything go through, but I've seen a lot of things go through. I don't think I've ever had such I've actually only applied one other time, so I haven't had a lot of other experience.
What is the benefit of that kind of a program for Arab?
Well, that's part of what I have to get to. I have to figure out. Arab doesn't have to benefit from a commercial standpoint, but Arab's mission statement, creating a better world, and if it creates a better world while utilizing the value that we add, specifically the built environment, specifically our experts that can offer technical expertise to the built environment. If that can be, if I can substantiate that thesis that this project is making an effort towards the alleviation of poverty in terms of the built environment, thus creating a better world, thus furthering our mission.
So would you be able to? Let's see. I mean, there's a lot of risk involved in that one. So maybe that would be a good one to choose. Seems like. Tell me more about if you maintain 20 hours of work with Arab. I mean, when you say 20, does it mean 20 or 20, and then you're also doing a bunch of basically occupies your mind and time really beyond the 20?
One of my MOs is I'm pretty good with boundaries, so I would say it would be 20.
And you can basically boundary yourself to be okay. That's the 20. I'm done. I'm not gonna ever pick up extra time or get on additional conference calls or whatever. Can you make those boundaries, or do they have? So is that your determined schedule, or is it there will be surprises?
I wouldn't anticipate there being surprises. I would anticipate it being a solid, a steady 20 hours, and there wouldn't be, it wouldn't bleed over that.
Uh-huh. And what kind of project would that be that you would be working on?
I would continue to work on what I'm working on right now. I'm playing relatively more or less management roles in two different projects. One would be that means there's people that are doing calculations and doing lead work that I'm overseeing. Some of them within Arab and some of them sub-consultants. So I'd be in contact with sub-consultants. I'd be checking in with larger project teams, and yeah, that sums it up.
What kind of project? I mean, what is this?
Okay.
A build? It's a build of some sort?
Okay, one of them is the utility in California, Pacific Gas and Electric, has an initiative to require all buildings to be net zero energy by 2020, meaning in the net end of the year, they produce 100% of the energy that they require to run. We're doing an analysis that tells them how to do that in each of California's climate zones, which is a lot of energy modeling, and as many as 100,000 different energy modeling runs. And then we're creating a database of energy modeling output to aid in case-by-case consulting towards net zero energy.
What's their typical method? Solar? PV?
Of energy generation, yes. Very much PV.
Yeah, interesting.
Tiny bit of wind, a few things here and there, but almost exclusively PV.
Hmm. Interesting.
But the design side is not that. The design side is reducing the demand to the lowest possible.
Yeah. Okay. If you maintain 20 hours a week on Arab, how many hours would you be realistically able to contribute to OSE?
Well, what's the setup there? Do you guys take weekends? Or you
We
pretty much
typically rest on Sunday and Saturday. Saturday we're gonna look at. There's gonna be some education and group work stuff. Like this weekend, we're actually gonna do some stuccoing of the house. But it's a little bit of education, cross training, and actually getting into some training on basically like group dynamics and community building stuff. So yeah, you can say essentially like work on Saturday too.
Okay.
Like light work.
So and
well, because that leads into a deeper question of intrinsic motivation. How you would you? I mean, are you an intrinsically motivated person for the work of OSC so that you're basically working on it all day and kind of like a lot of us here, we kind of eat, live, and breathe it kind of deal.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous about that, but no, I definitely expect to be pretty darn motivated. So if the 20 hours means I'm doing 4 hours a day on Arab work, I would expect to be working 10 to 12 hours a day in total. So I think that still leaves 40 to 50-ish hours. I guess I should say like maybe 35 to 50 hours on LSC work.
Mm-hmm. So pretty much.
Does that sound like crazy, or does that sound like what you?
Well, no, I mean that actually sounds quite reasonable. I was kind of thinking about that question myself, and I would estimate I work 12 hours a day, for 6 days. So it's like 70-hour. 12 times 6 is going to be 72 hours a week. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's as a startup, and then that's kind of natural that the founders work pretty hard, and of course it's that's my work is cut out for me. It's like this is my destiny, so I have no other choice. But I mean that does sound like that fits, and that leads into like what are you trying to get out of this? What is the real potential that you see in it? It's going to be a difficult, so getting into the psychology, it's like, it will be difficult because we're changing the world and it's not going to be a light task. And the demands are pretty intense for the people. And unless they are motivated intrinsically, they're going to burn out, So that kind of leads to the next question of how you survive in that kind of environment.
Sure. Well, I like that you're talking about training and group dynamics, and I would anticipate there being a lot of emotional level check-ins and support, and I would I don't know, I'm just starting to field the question the way I want to, but I'm not quite sure if I'm heading the right direction.
Emotional level, it's like more like, from my experience, my recent experience indicates to me that it's more about helping people to mature, to be adult in their behavior, action, responsibility, helping people to tap their potential. Because very recently, I won't get into too much detail, but I've seen how important that is, and we need to basically spend at least a little bit of time to help people rise up to the challenge, and that is to be adult, behave like adults with responsibility, because everyone's got baggage, and this stuff, it will come out here, because as I say, it can turn into Lord of the Flies pretty quick if you're not prepared for or equipped with the tools to address the rigor of the operation, or just like the proper mindset, just the ability to motivate yourself to have a positive attitude and a mature perspective, and being first of all clear, like, do you belong here? It's like, are you here for a free ride, or just do you think it's fun and glorious, or are you here because you're interested in making a different world? And if it's the latter, then you fit really well. It's like the quote I like is, psychologically, I like the quote, if you come here because you want to help, you've come to the wrong place. But if your liberation is tied up with mind, then we can bound up with mind, then we can work together. And I think that's really, really a strong statement, because people have to be coming here because they know what they want, and this is part of their liberation in some way. Um, that's a pretty deep quote. I really like it, and it's because what we want here primarily is, in as much way as possible, the lifestyle investor type of person who's interested in actually using the fruits, not just this is some kind of intellectual exercise, but something that you're going to use and act on it and live with it as a lifestyle. Like for us, it's about producer lifestyles, where you're part of a new world where communities are actually beginning to become responsible for themselves and their context within the greater world. Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying resonates pretty seriously with me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm, 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 I'm living in about the sexiest city in the world, working for one of the sexier companies in the world,
Yep.
working on some pretty absurd projects, um,
Yep.
and it's yeah, and I'm looking elsewhere for intrinsic reasons. I'm not like doing the sexiest thing from um, a large perspective, like my truth. I've come to what I believe is that's I don't believe that's not where I want to put my effort. I don't know that I'm going to have children, but I've been framing things in my mind to the effect that if I did have children, that's a way I can look at it. What will I tell my children about what I did with all these years? Um, to tell them that I was contributed to this, signature architecture, high rise, highly technical central plant, something. It doesn't say much, but if I can tell my children that I'm contributing to um, a system that um, that offers knowledge and the means of production to every corner of the world that has internet access. That is something that I can get up in the morning for. So I am intrinsically motivated, and I have no doubt that I will be putting in the extra hours. I have I could draw on dozens of experiences when. Did you happen to take a look at my bank project in Mexico City?
I haven't. Aaron, did you?
Did you get a look at it, Aaron?
Is that the CAD stuff?
Well, I
Like
said
the
CAD, but it was an architecture project. There was some big 3D models. Anyways, it was essential. It was one of my master's uh, projects, and it was a central bank in Mexico City. We studied globalization for half the semester, and then the latter half of the semester we did this project designing a central bank in either Calcutta or Mexico City. So my response to that project was to design a central bank that the people could disassemble in pairs, and every piece of the bank was able to be used for either a parasite home or a greenhouse, and the structure of the building was actually designed to enable this deconstruction post capitalism. And that project, I I put in more time than I think there was in the day. You know, when my heart's in something, I can. There's really no. I mean, it feels as though there's no limit to my energy and my ability to contribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's how you're saying you feel about this project?
That's where I'm headed. That's where I'm at. Yeah. So the answer is yes, but I'm just saying that I'm not telling you right now that I'm. Well, I guess so. I'm there. I'm just saying that I you know, I need to get out there. I need to get in it. But as far as the actual motivation of the project, absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have reservations on that? Do you have any doubt that you might not know what you're getting into?
The only thing I'm concerned about, Martian, is how the power dynamics play out there, Martian. Because I know you've been working on this project, of course, the longest. You're the founding member. That's. I mean, and it's not a strong concern of mine, but it is a concern I'm carrying of how that founding stake that you hold, how that shows up in decision making. If it's a totalitarian decision making process, or if there's discussions, and if there's a round table that people are able to speak at. And, so yeah, my concerns are not about the project in itself. It's just about how it shows up.
Let's talk about that. How do you think this will? What's your picture of how that will show up, or how the power dynamics play, or how decisions are made, and how the project moves forward within the context of GVCS development?
Oh, like my ideal?
Yeah.
Or what?
Well, let's see. First of all, maybe start with what you. Let's start with. It's a good idea to talk about ideal situations, and then let's discuss how we get there, or are we there, or what's missing.
Okay. I guess my ideal would be. There is authority and responsibility given out among the group, meaning authority over pieces of work, as opposed to authority over individuals involved in the project. Decision making. I imagine when it comes to specific project-based decisions, those that have previously been delegated to make those decisions would be the ones to make them. However, something that's larger decisions, like direction of the project, I would hope or expect there to be a space for collective visioning and processes to share, to get to a shared idea of a shared vision of where the project is headed, and then make decisions according to that. So, at this, from where I'm sitting, I feel like I have to speak in kind of vague terms. But if that is a sufficient answer, that's good. Otherwise, we can get more specific, and I can come up with some kind of example. But
no, let's get specific, because in the role of management, the direction has to be clear as far as the boundaries of basically the management of relationship boundaries and authority boundaries is going to be critical for a cohesive team. That clarity has to be there. And I like it that you're bringing this up, because I do also think that when we are at this level, that has to be, we can't be bickering about what, who has authority over what. It's that we are coming from a playing field of common background of obviousness that moves the project forward. So what are the things that are a background of obviousness, therefore, and which things, like what are the decisions to be made? What are things that are already, that we are clear on? So if we can define those, that helps. That helps from the get-go. Now, I think the biggest, the biggest part of the question that you asked right now is addressed in principle by the contract, or by, a clarity up front. It's like, what are you doing? What is your role when you come into factory farm? Because there's division of labor in some way, and people, while we specialize flexibly, there, one person does more of one thing than another. So what is that breakdown? Is the question. Okay. So, but tell me more. Tell me more. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I imagine there's 1,000 decisions every day. So maybe rather than say,
you can say that, but I mean, so I think it would be most useful to start discussing what things. I mean, see, we can. I think at this point maybe it would be useful to start talking about the responsibility that you're coming in for.
Okay.
Because I think if a project is, there's a careful balance of top-down direction and I guess collective vision. If we have, for any project, so we should start defining, like, what are the things that are, you say there's 1,000 decisions. Well, what are the things that are already decided? What are the things that you would expect to be a decision? But that's a question for a particular project. Like if it's on agriculture, what are the decisions to be made? Do we have a plan? Do we agree to a work plan, or are we going by the fly? There's what is the level of top-down planning or planning or existing infrastructure and direction that's already there, and what needs to be developed? Those things, I think that would be a good prelude. Like, say, if you're coming here, then what are your roles in that? Because there has to be some structure for this to move fast. You have to have structure. Otherwise, like what I was referring to, the Lord of the Flies situation, which I've seen quite a bit, and I've had a lot of experience with it here, because simply what my experience was is basically I would give a lot of authority to different people, and it turned out that I would typically give too much authority, and people would start making decisions that they weren't qualified to do, and I had to come in and say, no, that doesn't work, and then we got into trouble, into conflict, because the people did not have the skill to make proper decisions, and I gave that authority to them, and I've seen that cause a lot of trouble. So there has to be a clarity on upfront, what is your skill set, therefore what is your authority. So our governance model here is meritocracy. It's like, if you got merit to do something, go right ahead. But it's dangerous to give merit or meritocracy or ruling power to somebody who does not know how to make the appropriate decisions. So that is, I'm struggling with that in all honesty, because, and until very present, I think my experience has been that not providing enough structure here has led to a lot of those problems. So what we're talking about is it's a huge question. It's a very important one, and it's one that has to be addressed and be clear. It's I think a lot of that solution comes to standards and structures. Like, for example, how do you do it at Arab? You've got a structure. I don't know. Do you get into conflicts at Arab, or are people's roles well defined? things like that. I mean, well, let's take as a
Yeah.
practical example. Are the roles at Arab clearly defined, or is there a lot of energy lost on definitions?
I'd say roles are pretty clearly defined. Um, yeah, I'd say
I
project
think
roles are
that's a
pretty.
model. Yeah, from my perspective, that's what it should be like here. Clearly defined roles, because the project is so comprehensive and so crazy and integrated that if you don't do that, you're asking for a lot of trouble. And that's actually the kind of mode I'm pulling out of. It was basically a free for all here throughout this whole time. Very little definition. And that's I think as we move forward to the next level, a lot of that has to be clarified. Lots of clarification on where that needs to go. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, yeah, what I'm hearing from you is just I'm hearing affirmation that what I am concerned about is a valid thing to be concerned about, and two, that it is on the table and it is being looked at. The way in which authority is given out and the way decisions are made is something that is being discussed and is an active item, and it's good. I appreciate hearing that as well. That it is up for yeah, it is being criticized. I mean, that's a heavy word, but it is being discussed the way in which that happens. So. Did you have was there a specific question in there, or are we just pausing?
No, there was no specific question right there.
Okay, cool. Okay.
We've got about 13 minutes left until we have another video.
So, okay.
I think the basic answer to your question is role descriptions. I would say in one word, role descriptions, responsibilities, authorities, skill sets. Someone comes with a skill set, therefore they come with a certain authority. That authority is made clear. It's a meritocracy. I don't favor the concept of collective decision making, because people are not equal, and while we can have collective decision making on light duty topics, such as what color do we want to paint the house, that's total collective decision making, because everyone is pretty much qualified to make that decision. However, if it wouldn't be wise for the engineer to tell the agriculture guy how they have to do some task that's very specific to agriculture that they don't have experience about, i.e. the authority comes from, like, the way I guide or judge authority is by simply experience. And that to me, a lot of times it's clear what experience does a person have. And that's my role to figure out what experiences does a person, are they capable? Like, would I if I just walked away, what do I know about them that, they can handle this, they make sound, grounded decisions on that by certain metrics of performance. So those definitions, those standards of performance and all of that all has to be clear, and I think that comes that has to come out. And I must say that, like, the way you're talking about it generally actually is I am concerned about it, because you're coming at it from I guess like in a nutshell, the word collective scares me, because I mean, I don't think that's how things work, and that's influenced by many things. I mean, from the fact that I come from a communist country, and I mean, I've lived in co-ops, it's good stuff and all that. I've got a little bit of experience, but I certainly found that there was that in the collective mindset, there's a huge wrong assumption that everybody's equal, and that's not. I mean, I don't think one can ground the fact that people are equal. They're equal on some things, but when it comes to their abilities, powers, desires, or visions, I mean, we're very unique, and therefore I believe strongly that you shouldn't compromise the integrity of a small minority by the wishes of a majority. I mean, that's what collectivism is. Collectivism is a good formula for mediocrity. It's not a good formula for excellence, and I think our project is about excellence. It's about really going beyond the bounds. We do have a hero model still here. It's like the heroic effort model where right now just about all of us are pretty much like heroes doing amazing tasks to move this project forward. Now, that's just to inform you on how that looks. It's like that's not where we're in. Like, we've been criticized. It's like, oh yeah, you bunch of yuppies, elites, who's going to replicate this? But that exactly is the goal. It's like we are the pioneers, but we're working at it to make it super accessible, replicable, open source, absolutely transformative. So there's a very interesting balance of how you have to work with this hero model and authoritarian, top-down, while blending that with absolute open source and distributive enterprise goals. So that kind of brings it up to the point that, man,
Martian?
Yeah, I'm still here. I don't know what happened.
You're here, Aaron?
Yeah.
Did you hear Martian just stop?
Yeah, he stopped. His internet drops out a lot.
Okay.
I mean, you could do a great service right now just clarifying this stuff, because I don't fully understand where he's coming from, although I read Ayn Rand. I know I've read a lot of Nietzsche, and I resonate a lot with the idea of not letting collective decision making or any kind of like collective imposition on excellence. That can be a danger in society. I'm maybe a bit more of a peacemaker when it comes to ideology, and I think Martin's more of a boundary crosser. They both play their part.
I guess when I'm speaking about collective decision making, and when I have this picture in my mind, I see he just dropped. I'm more thinking about we're all living and working in the same space. I'm not thinking about the size of the weld bead being a decision making process. I'm thinking about whether or not we push through and work on Sunday as being a collective decision, or things like painting the color of the house, picking the color of the house to paint.
Yeah. I'm with you 100%. He just showed back up. Let me call you guys back.
Yeah. Okay. I'm here.
Okay, we're still trying to get Martin.
hey, sorry, my computer crashed. Okay, I'm on my iPhone here. Okay. Let's see. What's the last thing you heard?
I don't remember the exact words, but I heard a lot about what I heard it as an aversion to collective decision making and
the terms
sacrificing performance.
Yeah, the terms have to be defined. Like when you say collective, my question would be, I think I should back up and say, what do you mean by that? Because when you say collective decision making, do you mean people of essentially, I would say, unequal abilities or with different levels of merit vying for decision making on things that they may or may not be authorized to make decisions about? Or are you saying that that you're more in a meritocracy collective decision making process where you're saying, oh, there's three engineers and three designers or whatever, like a set of very highly skilled people with demonstrated track records getting in on a decision versus like, oh, it's a free fall, because that has to be very well defined. Like, what are you talking about? What is the particular context in which you're saying that? Because up front, like just the word collective, for me, I would tend to use the word meritocratic decision
Okay,
rather
so
than collective.
the context that I heard you describe, where like picking the color of the house,
Yeah.
um, picking the color of paint to paint the house. Um, my expectation is that decisions like that will come up a lot in the day to day, from like eating food to sleeping to like where we're living, and
Yeah.
I was anticipating that living and working and eating, doing everything in the same space, that there's a lot of that to go on. So when I'm talking about collective decision making, I'm not talking about uh, you know special work scope stuff. I'm talking about living. I'm talking about inhabiting space together.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, I would call it call it more. I would still use the word meritocratic, as in I think we can address a lot of that by structure. Like, for example, and I say that because I know what you're talking about, and this is hard. And what happened before was someone would just like point examples. Someone without much information, knowledge about, like water systems, put in the water system and ended up breaking. I was pissed, was wasted money, stuff like that. And I let it happen once again because as I told you, I had not the clear boundaries as far as recognizing people's ability to do stuff. So the way I address that now is, okay, we will allow, like, say it's something related to infrastructure, in order to prevent any confusion like that, we can do it in many ways. We can say all the issues regarding infrastructure go to our site manager. In order to facilitate our living together harmoniously, we're going to have some person that focuses on that. Therefore, there's no question, like, that person will be vetted. They're like, okay, they're capable to do that job. So I would tend to do that as much as possible, because you're absolutely right. There's going to be hundreds of things like that that can come out, and I think we have to be prepared for them upfront to have a way to address those issues, so that basically you streamline the operations of the very facility. It's like if you're in a college campus and something breaks, you typically you call the custodian or the building manager. You don't like start messing with light bulbs and electrical systems, things like that.
Yeah, let
So
me.
that's how I'm looking at it in terms of. So therefore, like when you say collective decision making, that to me, there, yeah, I mean, there will be things like dinner. It's like, what do we have for dinner? Yeah, sure. I mean, but at the same time, it's like, okay, we are planning on getting a cook that would, yeah, they could get the feedback from the populace, but we can also say, well, the cook is going to run it, and they can, we'll say, let them handle it. It's like, I'll be like, if I don't see a lot of problem with the people in authority. In that place, the cook would be the authority, or in another place, the seamstress would be the authority. Okay, so someone mends clothes. Well, I will let the seamstress say, like, hey, is it worth it to fix these curtains here or something? It's always, you want to go to the most qualified person and have mechanisms where those kinds of decision makings are facilitated by the structure and resources that we have in place. Because so I'm kind of, you might say, rebounding from not having any structure for basically the last 5 years, and seeing a lot of trouble come from that. I mean, just very basic, like, resource comfort issues.
Sure.
Kind of, so. Yeah, so I've been dealing with that a lot, and I think those are ready solutions when we have, the more people we have, there's more specialization, but at the same time, there's always the cross training that everybody gets to be as powerful and responsible as possible on site. Yeah, but then it's like then it comes up to the project stuff. Okay, how do we run the projects then? So that stuff, from my perspective, I mean that should be clearly defined. And what are the roles? Like if you come here, what exactly are you doing? So is it going to be the CEB? I think it's imperative that we can track, just pin it down as much as possible, so that when you are here, it's like there's there's a clear path, and that has to be coming from sound and grounded decision forks that we make regarding strategy. So it's a strategic point in the perspective. So, well, if so that, yeah, it's going to be a lot of different people contributing to the strategy, and it's typically by merit. And then the things like that are non-negotiable. It's like OSC spec. It's like we're going there to make a distributive economy. That's an assumption. So it's like if someone came here and were to say, no, I don't think we should be open, then I would kick them out. So things like that. So some things should be clear, and others are more questionable. But there's has to be a common background of obviousness regarding, like, what are we doing here? So, and that's what we test and I guess assess with each person that comes in, right?
Sure.
Yeah. But
yeah. I mean, I'm following you. I mean, I'm realizing that within my, like, yeah, I've worked in, well, I hear you. I'll leave it at that. I can expound if
Does
yeah,
something
yeah,
sit
no,
uneasy with you, Marshall? Do you feel like you have emotional resistance to some of that, or?
I don't really. I hear the point. I guess I'm just realizing that within such an intense workspace, like working and living together. In my experiences, I haven't actually taken on much. Like, I've lived in collective. I worked in Mexico in a small collective, and we weren't trying to do all that much in either case. So I'm seeing where my lack of experience has limits me in that ability. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And this, I mean, so this is it's actually a very good discussion to have, because this issue has to be really clear. Because in all honesty, I did have a lot of issues with people who are coming in here. They're like, fly by the night, and they're basically telling me how to, run the shop or how to do the agriculture. Like when and I'm saying from people who don't have the merit or grounded perspective on the issues, they say, oh, well, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And I say, really? Like, why do you say that? And they don't have the answer. But I've seen a lot of, I mean, this project attracts lots of interesting people, let's say. So I have run into a lot of, tons of issues on all these matters that I need to be, at this stage, we need to, one, put in clarity, process, structures, a lot of process development. I mean, I'm actually thinking a lot about process development these days, because that's a thing that could really help streamline this from being a Lord of the Flies situation. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that's really appealing about you, Marshall, is you're intentionally cultivating those skills too, and you could, you're tapped into a lot of that kind of stuff. I think it's awesome that Marchin really values that, and we've got some advisors who can help, set the course for that kind of stuff. Just in my experience working with Marchin, it's like I feel like my opinion is heard and valued. I don't feel like he dictates what I do. So I've worked with him for a long time, and relatively a long time. So yeah, I think it's definitely workable. I've been on site and off site. I think a lot of the stuff that Marchand is wary about is trying to prevent worst case scenarios. But if you are a person with integrity and you hold your weight, you're going to be a valued member of the community. You're going to be in on the decision making process, where within reason and all that kind of stuff. That's what I've seen happen.
Yeah, I mean it's total meritocracy. It's like the way I talk about it. If someone were to, I mean, it's like very few people see this. It's like I have no stake like regarding the glory. Like my truest interest is that to be free. So I want to basically distribute the economy so that like people aren't forced to steal from me because they have enough. So I think this is the most awesome thing to be doing, and I'm not attached to, like, if someone were to come in here and replace me, I would love it. I could, then what I would do is, do more meditation and maybe start a family and stuff like that. But no one's doing it, so I have to lead it. I'm not attached to being in that position. It's that, and I'm very actively inviting people with the merit to come in, take all kinds of different roles. And so I don't have this kind of ego attachment where it's like, oh, well, don't do it this because it hurts my ego or something. No, it's about a set of metrics and goals that make me assess somebody and say, okay, this guy is taking it in the right direction. And if that's the case, I'm out of the way and let him do as much as possible. But what happened a lot, I mean, since there's very few really super capable people, a lot of times I would basically say, no, that's not the right thing to do. And that's where I get the reputation of being like perhaps not easy to work with, or like whatever the criticism there might be of me out there that I want to terrorize the show. That comes from people who were basically going to derail it. And I certainly look at it as the guardian of the faith here, that my role is to basically keep the project on track. So if anyone wants to step in and is on that track, it's beautiful and it's the most inspiring thing. And what you'll find is that, I just love talking and being with people and giving them as much opportunity as they want to take, and decision-making process power. So Aaron's actually a good example because he basically came in on, it's useful to note how Aaron came on, and basically Aaron just started doing resource development. At a certain point, he just came to me and said, hey, Marchand, I'm doing a lot of work here. I need to sign a contract with you that, I'm going to get something out of it. So we did. We signed a work contract, and after that, he just kept doing this stuff, and it's like, whoa. So he immediately gained my respect and merit, like, because he was doing good stuff. It was relevant. It was producing results, and it's like, wow, cool. And that kind of evolved very naturally. Like I didn't have to fight it, resist it, or tell him like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. He listened, and we, he was on track, and that's how I would love to see this. Basically, find more people like Aaron. He's not like, I don't think Aaron's like a good soldier. It's like he's not like he doesn't have a brain. He totally makes decisions, but they're aligned in the right direction, and that's how it works. So that's how, just to explain the decision-making process, how that works. I don't know if that clarifies it for you.
This is good. No, this is good. I appreciate all the attention paid to this, and Martian, from what I mean, we haven't really been in contact, but from the contact we have been in, and how I have been following you to the extent that I have, it's consistent with what you're saying is consistent with my judgment. So I hear you.
I've been texting with Parker. He's waiting to start this next meeting.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we just kind of basically started this conversation. We need to be. Well, how do we continue this? What do we do? I mean, it's really about. Maybe like you should both start writing up a contract. Here's what we'd like you to do. Here's what I would like to do, and maybe come together next time and say, okay, this is how we blend it together. But it would have to be focused on a very explicit work plan and clear responsibility, so that some of the issues that we're talking about are non-issues. They don't even enter there. It's like you're here and you hit the ground running.
Sure. So you're saying either Aaron or I, or do Aaron and I need to discuss that?
Both our sides. I mean, it'll be me and Aaron, and then your side. Like your responsibility would be so start writing down your work plan. It's like I mean, we haven't talked much about it, but I mean, I do want to see that, like, so it's the project management and hands-on stuff. But start writing down what you want to be doing, I guess, and we can start writing what we want you to be doing, and then we should come together on that and throw that all into a contract that covers a lot of stuff. Like, I think the contract should cover a lot of, yeah, just be pretty comprehensive and long, actually, just to, talking about infrastructure, talking about responsibilities and everything, so that we find out about as much as possible before you're here, rather than having surprises when you come here, So it's like a disclosure document, Here's what, on the table, here's what I want to do, here's what we want you to do, here are the terms. So let's start nailing that down. Because we haven't really talked much about it. I mean, I was hoping we could get into some of that, but I guess as we see, there's a lot of different issues that are required to be put on the table.
Is July 1st the assumption here, or is this still
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, we were kind of assuming that, but I mean, I'm kind of like going between what you told me last time, which I think you said once we've got clarity of commitment, like once we've got a contract agreed upon, then it would be a month. Is that still true?
That still fits. So I was thinking it could be a month from today, but I understand. Yeah, we could be good to get a contract moving.
Yeah,
Contract
as soon as we sign it, maybe like, let's see if we can nail a contract by next Wednesday or something. What do you think, Aaron? Is that too long or too short? Or
As long as you feel like you're not, I mean, I want you to know, Marshall, that we intend to follow through with this process. I can't say that everything's going to turn out where you are at Factory Farm, but I mean, we're deliberate about our process for a good reason, but you can probably be in good faith that we intend to move forwards as far as we know. We have to investigate more, but your time is not being wasted right now is ultimately my point.
and you would have to, I guess. Well, I don't know. I mean, you pretty much said it. It looks like the 20-hour per week with Arab kind of deal might be the way to go. I mean, is that your understanding, and then perhaps? I mean, I could see like actually. So that one guy from Arab who did a TED presentation to the TED Fellows.
Was it Chris Lupkeman?
Yeah.
Yeah. He sits right by me.
Did you talk to him about that? Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Is he a high level guy, or is he like
Yeah, he's as high as it gets.
Yeah. Is he like the CEO, or what is he?
No. There's no, but he's just he's our director of foresight and innovation globally.
Yeah, right. And but anyway, what I was going to say, I think you can possibly get the charitable thing regarding the CEB press and the fact that we're going to cause significant effects on the building trade. What we're like, the next project here is to demonstrate a 350 square foot structure, super insulated with straw, that's built in under a week for under 5,000. And I think that's going to be extremely highly replicable. So
yeah,
we're trying to work that out. But I don't know. I think the CEB press, a low-cost machine like that, can have a tremendous impact. They might, your leadership might be really into that. Your nonprofit branch. I mean, it depends. They might really catch on to that. It depends. Show them the TED Talk and see. I mean, I would say still pursue that, but I would say for now, it's like, since we need you now, as soon as possible. I don't see that happening earlier than the other option, which still looks palatable. I mean, if you're doing 20 hours, but you're really committed to this, it's like, I don't know, I think you